So today's topic for our lecture is related to suspension. So for that purpose, I want to share my link first. So suspension systems. What is suspension system? So suspension is a term given to the system of springs, shock absorbers, and linkages that connects a vehicle to its wheels. Okay, vehicle is connected to the wheels, and wheel is attached to the ground or roads. So in this way, the shocks or bumps which are created on the road, so which is transmitted towards the wheel, and tire material is provided there, and so damping takes place in that. Then next is serve a dual purpose, that is contributing to the car's handling and braking. Okay, suspension system handle these two purposes. Okay, handle the car as well as braking system. Protects the vehicle itself and any cargo or luggage from damage and wear. Okay, so for any cargo is there or luggage is there, so it is avoided to damage this system. Okay, because if hard surface is provided or suspension is absent, so in that case so lot of impact takes place on that object. So if delicate object is there, then if materials like a glass or this type of materials are there, or that ceramics are there, so all these gets break out if the wearing is if the suspension is not provided. Okay, this is about the goods, but in case of driver also, a lot of injuries takes place if suspension system is not there. So directly all the impacts are transmitted towards the driver, and in this way the injuries may happen. So purpose of suspension system. So in this diagram, if we observe, so different parts are shown. So this is dual control arm suspension system, and this is McPherson strut system. So tires are there, axles, front axle, rear axle is there, and this is the suspensions are provided. This is steering wheel, then steering wheel is attached to the column, and in this way towards the axle. It supports the weight, all the weights which is coming on the vehicle, which is transmitted towards the suspension system. So it supports the weight, then provides a smooth ride. Okay, so impacts is avoided, so smooth riding is available here. Allow the rapid cornering without extreme body roll, keeps tires in firm contact with the road, allow front wheels to turn side to side for steering, works with the steering system to keep the wheels in correct alignment, isolate the passenger and cargo from vibrations and shocks. Okay, so this cargo or passengers is avoided to get direct vibration impacts. Okay, so this is the buffer zone provided in the vehicle, so all the impacts which is absorbed by that suspension system, and less amount of that impact is transmitted towards the passenger or cargo. So this is the main function. Then basic parts, if we see, the control arm is provided. So see this diagram first. So this is called as control arm bushing, and this part is related to control arm. So this is movable lever that fastens the steering knuckle to join the vehicle's body or frame. Then steering knuckle is also available. So see here, this is steering knuckle, this is kingpin. Steering knuckle provides a spindle or bearing supports for the wheel hub, bearings, and wheel assembly. If we see the next part, that is ball joints. So this diagram is related to the ball joints, and this is the springs. So ball joint is again important. Swivel joints that allow control arm and steering knuckle to move up and down and side to side. So this is the ball joint arrangement. If we see the springs, supports the weight of the vehicle, permits the control arm and wheel to move up and down. Okay, so due to that springs, so vehicle gets moved in vertically upward and downward direction. If we see the next, then shock absorbers or dampeners are provided. So it keeps the suspension from continuing to bounce after the spring compression and extension takes place. So this is the shock absorber for dampening purpose. Okay. Then control arm bushing. This is control arm bushings. So bush are provided. So sleeves that allow the control arm to swing up and down on the frame. So at that place, the control arm bushing is provided. The next is non-independent suspension. It has both right and left wheel attached to the same solid axle. Okay, both the right and left wheel attached to the same solid axle. When one wheel hits a bump in the road, its upward movement causes a slight tilt of the other wheel. Okay, so this type of motion takes place here. So if both right and left wheel attach on the same solid axle, when one wheel hits the bump in the road, its upward movement causes a slight tilt of the other wheel. Means that movement is created in that bar or in that axle. So one wheel on, for example, right side wheel goes on upward direction and left side wheel is goes in downward direction. The next is independent suspension. So in case of independent suspension is a broad term of any automobile suspension system that allows each wheel on the same axle to move vertically independently of each other. Next is non-independent type of suspension. So in this case, low speed bump with the patented layman no lean suspension. Okay, and this is called as non-independent suspension. Independent suspension means low speed bump with independent suspension. So see this diagram. So if the suspension no lean suspension or low speed bump, non-independent suspension is provided. So in case of non-independent suspension, complete vehicle gets turned. Okay, but in case of independent suspension or low speed bump with independent suspension, so here if any object is available or in any object comes under the wheel as shown in figure, that is on the right side, some stone comes, stone may come under the wheel, and due to that, as compared to first case, the inclination is less or vehicle is still stable in this case. Okay, so this is independent suspension. If we see again diagram, so here the coil spring and lip springs are provided. So upper control arm is there, then shock absorber is available here, coil springs are available, this is stabilizer, then ball joints are there. Okay, so all this is related to suspension system. If we see here, rear shackle is provided, then front hanger is provided, lip spring is available here. This is the shock absorber. Okay, so this is lip spring. So these are the two different types. This is coil spring and this is lip spring. If we see lip spring, it is used in many early applications. Okay, so in case of trucks, we use this lip spring, or bullock carts also, if we observe, this type of lips springs are available. Okay, and internal friction provides the damping. So in these plates, as the contact area is more, so in between these two plates, friction is more, and due to that friction, the dampening takes place. It provides the lateral location for the axle. So for the providing the lateral location axles are used. It is heavy, prone to weaken over time. Leaf springs are now limited to the rear of some cars. If we see the next type, that is coil spring. In this case, coils are available. A coil spring suspension diagram is shown in this or here. This is the coil springs. These two are coil springs here. This is the stabilizer bar. So when the vehicle is moving in rightward or leftward direction, this part stabilizes the rotation or motion. The next, little to no internal dampening takes place. Okay, internal damping is less in case of coil spring because contact is less. If we consider the two different coils, then contact is not available in between two coils, and so that no internal damping takes place. Low cost as compared to first type, this is low costly. Compact size, so size is also very less. So in less size, this suspension system is provided. So compact size or in these sizes, it is available. It is used in many suspension types. Then coil spring is the most common type of spring found on modern vehicle. Then torsion bar or large spring rod. If you observe this, is the torsion bar. So one end is attached to the frame and the other to the lower control of the arm. So if we consider the torsion bar, one end is attached to the frame and the other is lower control arm. Up and down of the suspension system twist the torsion bar. It will then try to return to its original shape, moving the control arm to its original place. If we see the sway bar or stabilizer bar, okay, in this case, it is used to keep the body from leaning excessively in sharp turns. It fastens to lower control arms. During cornering, centrifugal force makes outside of the body drop and inside raise. The bar's resistance to twisting motion limits body lean in corners. Shock absorbers are also there. A shock absorber is a mechanical device designed to smooth out or damp shock impulses and dissipate the kinetic energy. It limits the spring compression and extension movements to smooth the vehicle ride. Without shock absorbers, the vehicle would continue to bounce up and down along the long after striking deep or hump in the road. Strut assembly is also there. This is the McPherson strut assembly. These are the diagrams. So bump stop is available, then different parts are available. There is spring seal, then washer, all these parts are available. In strut assembly, it is an independent suspension system consisting of a shock absorber, a coil spring, and an upper damper unit. The strut assembly often replaces the upper control arm. The steering gear is either connected directly to the lower shock absorber housing or to an arm from the front or back of the spindle. When you steer, it physically twists the strut and shock absorber housing and consequently the spring to turn the wheel. So this is the strut assembly. If we consider the advantages, low production cost is there, stamped construction, then pre-assembled. Strut body carries spring assembly. It is compact in size, simple mounting and no need for an upper control arm. Simplicity is there and reduction in fasteners and alignment of vehicle suspension components. So this is the next is air suspension. Air suspension is a type of vehicle suspension powered by an electric or engine driven air pump or compressor. This compressor pumps the air into a flexible bellow, usually made from textile reinforced rubbers. This in turn inflates the bellows and raises the chassis from the axle. If we see the continuing the advantages, this means this maintain a constant frequency of vibration whether the vehicle is laden or unladen. What is the laden and unladen? If the vehicle is loaded, then it is called as laden, and if the vehicle is unloaded, it is called as unladen weight. So constant frame height is maintained. It helps to reduce the load while the vehicle in motion. It is dynamic loading condition between the laden and unladen weight is much less. It gives smooth and comfort ride of the vehicle. The stiffness of the system increases with the increase of the deflection. So transverse suspension system is also there. Normally find on the rear suspension combines independent double wishbone suspension with a lip spring. It involves a one lip spring mounted across the wheel connected at each end to the lower wishbone. The center of the spring is connected to the front subframe in the middle of the car. And there are steel two shock absorbers mounted one to each side on the lower wishbone. So this is the structure. If we check the shock absorber conditions, so bounce test is available, then push down to one corner of the vehicle's body as shown in figure, release the body and count the number of times the vehicle rebounds. If no more than 2 rebounds are there, so then vehicle is in good condition. Leaking shocks, that is check for signs of leakage. If oily and wet, replace it. Then for ball joint also this type of checking is available. And tie rod inspection, this is again one method for finding out the defects. So in this way, today we finish this topic related to suspension. So we stop here. Thank you.